be going under a few days later, and those assets are then it really becomes an issue for the state, because the state then takes over the CUD's assets because we're no longer viable.
If I would just add to that, I don't believe there's a specific provision in the contract that says it reverts to the state, but the language in the contract, I think, is quite clear that we don't own this asset. This is an asset that is owned by the CUD. And so consequently, I would expect the law to sort of cover the state, and that's my understanding of the law as I read it too.
Okay. Question for Christine. Christine, are you able to see the contract? Have you reviewed it? Christine Hallquist?
Yes, I have thoroughly reviewed the contract.
Okay, and do you feel comfortable with that provision and, you know, relative to the provisions of Act 71 and assets of the state relative to what's in their contract, that we're okay?
Well, I'm not going to say that because I'm not even sure we figured it out. So, you know, I think it's an action item for the VCBB to figure this out.
As an armchair observer of legal terms, I would say that this question needs careful review.
Right, and I think it needs board discussion as well, especially before we get into the next legislative session. But since I have the floor for a moment, I will say that we did reach out to the Consumer Advocacy and Public Information Division of the Public Service Department, also known as CAPI. And they provided us information as to the consolidated's performance. They've seen significant improvements in performance, you know, in terms of 2018, there were 576 complaints. They dropped that down to 170, 2021. There were 2 escalations to the PUC in 2020 relating to people with disabilities. So I just want to provide that feedback as well.
Okay, thank you. I am done with my questions. Laura, you have your hand up still?
Yes, I have more questions.
Go ahead, you're up.
So first of all, is there any revenue or funding, ongoing funding that goes towards the maintenance of the CUD as part of this plan?
No, no, there isn't. The reason why is because we didn't want to get into a situation where people on the same street would be paying a different amount for the same service if one had an additional fee that would go back to the CUD. We also didn't see. We also didn't want to interrupt the statewide pricing. That was a big benefit for the board to say everyone's going to get the same pricing for. So we didn't see any bifurcation of rural areas, dense areas versus kind of outlier areas.
But,
Okay,
but
could
you're
we
assuming,
have,
I'm sorry. I'm
I want to keep going on
Yeah.
that as well, Holly.
Yeah.
Could we have the universal service plan slide taken down?
Because we're really talking about the benefit of the $9 million that goes to serve a universal service plan for the entire district, right, Laura?
Yes, and please forgive me, Southern Vermont CUD folks, but I want to reiterate that the VCBB is an organization that is set up to support CUDs implementing universal service plans, and CUDs are organizations that are created by municipalities to ensure that everyone gets service. And so your responsibility is in your district. I appreciate the care about the statewide rates and those types of things. But this, Eric Hatch, this goes back to my question that I left with previously, and just which I've been thinking about, the sustainability and how do we ensure that a volunteer organization remains. You know, this is, you have a small CUD, a small footprint, and you know, you all have had challenges. And again, thank you for stepping up and leading this effort. You know, I mean, you've had some leadership turnover. So how do we keep the CUD going. And the, one of the easiest ways to do that in my mind is, some sort of revenue to keep, to the CUD to keep some leadership, whether it's a stipend for chair or treasurer, et cetera. And so that's something that I'm thinking about right now. And it sounds like you discussed it and turned it down. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question that I have is around going back to that question that I asked you before, Eric Hatch. If there were repeated kind of service quality investigations, who would you turn to? Who would the CUD turn to when we think about that? And I'm not sure that you answered that question well, and I think that's something we should kind of think about. And again, I'm thinking you guys are small, and you're thinking about remaining volunteer, and you're thinking about remaining small, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that as long as we have the pieces kind of thought out. And how do we make sure that that we have your communities back with these public dollars, because that's what these public dollars are intended for. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that, or if it's just something we should talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we'll want to go back and noodle over that a bit more and see, get some more thoughts on it. Yeah, and come back to you, Laura, certainly.
Oh,
but I get where you're coming from and why, certainly, and so we can reply to that.
I think there are a lot of good ingredients on the table to get this done. It's just those accountability pieces are so key here. And the other little bit of confusion that I had from the presentation, and just thinking about, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of terms. What are we funding that Consolidated will not own?
They are not going to own the fibers within the cable that we are funding that go to our funded addresses.
Okay, so they will own the cable. You will own specific fibers, and they will own the drops.
Correct.
And so in a divorce, they still own the cable and the drops. You own fibers with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we would get the a third party to do fair market value of them basically being our backhauler wholesale for the network. We would have to rent their phase 2B connecting pieces to our little strands that are to certain addresses way out at the ends of roads. But we would have a network of fiber that we can then turn around and go to another provider with, build our own network or whatever the case might be.
And so Eric Hatch, in that case, going back to that question around the drops, and doesn't that, to me, I'm not going to ask you, to me, it seems like it would be safer for you to have the drops in the case of some sort of disagreement.
As I understand it, I don't think the drops, the connections to the house may not be compatible with that new provider's technology for their own drops.
Okay. Christina, Rob, does that jive? Or Dan, or Brian? It jives? Yes. Okay.
That's a sound position.
Okay. All right. I think that's the end of my questions. But just saying to staff and to the board, this issue of sustainability of the CUD, that's a sticky piece for me that I feel like I don't have a solid enough answer, and I'm not sure that exists right now, and is, I think, an important piece for me in order to vote yes on this. I think it's resolvable. I always think it's resolvable. So I'll just put that out there.
Okay,
Is it
thank
the
you,
test?
Laura.
Sorry, Patty. Laura, isn't the test of that the, kind of the health of the business plan? And we're asking CTC to be the, kind of the reviewer of that, right?
Is CTC on? Like, has CTC commented
don't
on
know.
that?
I don't
Yes,
know that.
CTC is on. We're waiting for the board to finish to have CTC give their thoughts.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that would
Okay.
be, thank you, Brian. I think that would be a great commentary to hear from them on, yes.
Great.
Okay. So just a quick time check here. It's 3:19, and I do want to get to Vicuda and public update starting at 3:30. So we have 10 minutes.
Thanks. We'd like to get, I don't think you need to.
Christine, can we tee up CTC to give us their overview?
Yep, sure. Telus is here. Telus, would you take the floor?
Yeah, sure. So we provided a memo with questions to Southern Vermont CUD, and those questions were answered throughout this conversation. However, I am still very unclear on what is being constructed with the funding and how much of that ownership is with the CUD. You're passing, I think it's 6,412 addresses. However, there's only 1,300 of those that are unserved. And I guess I'm trying to understand the additional capacity that you're installing, like additional cable capacity or additional wire center capacity, in order to serve those additional 5,112 customers. Is that being funded by the funding request, or is that being funded separately by Consolidated?
So that is part of, so those 5,000 are the ones that we pass by from the central office to those endpoints. So they too are the majority of it because it's just the tail end that isn't getting the fiber out to them. So that fiber through the whole length is owned by the CUD.
So in the event of termination of the agreement, Consolidated Southern Vermont CUD would own that entire cable, or the strands only serving those 1,300 customers?
No, it would be for everyone
6,000?
on 6,000, yes.
And so the assumption is that Consolidated is installing a larger cable than necessary for those 6,412 customers, correct?
Yeah, they have engineered for really everything in total for all of the addresses, knowing that what we could get funding for would be everyone along that pathway to those unserved areas.
And in the event that, in a couple years, you have a damage to a cable and maintenance has to be performed and cable needs to be replaced, and the normal day-to-day activities occur when operating an ISP, that maintenance and repair would be performed by Consolidated and funded by Consolidated, but who would own that portion?
Well, the ownership still stays with the CUD. They are charged and responsible for maintaining all of those lines in our Schedule B.
Yeah, if I could add, Telus, think of us as the maintenance contractor for that line, and we would perform the maintenance, but the asset remains owned by the CUD.
Even if you have to purchase additional assets in order to repair?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the wire center, there's in the budget, there's upgrades for wire center upgrades and core facility upgrades. Who has ownership of those upgrades, and are those separate pieces of are those separate assets, or those upgrades like software upgrades or additional cards, things like that are actually part of a larger asset?
So the updates that they would make post-construction are fully funded by Consolidated. So if they do take out an asset that was updated at the beginning of construction, presumably that has no value, but it could be returned to the CUD. However, it does get fuzzy with certain assets that they are upgrading this year or next year, partially of which, parts of which will be funded by the CUD because it's one server that serves many fibers, many residents, some may be RDOF. So what we said was it's not worth apportioning a section and trying to figure out what the value is and how much of should be apportioned to the CUD versus other grant. So that's why we said that stuff, that hardware isn't going to be part of it. It's gonna be kept simple. It's the fiber that's coming out of it.
Okay, so, which is completely understandable. I cannot speak to how that plays into Act 71 requirements of, ownership by the state, because the state would not have ownership of those assets aside from the fiber assets once if termination should occur. So it's completely understandable. It makes complete technical sense. I'm just putting that out there as a, something that I can't respond to. Outside of that, so we had to, because, I have complete trust that Consolidated can build a fiber network, a fiber to the home network, and provide service to the customers. However, there was not enough technical details in the application or complete faith, I'll say, that they have that ability. But there was not enough details in the application for me to be able to determine that they will meet all the requirements of the outside plant standards and all those details required. So, although I do believe that, their track record of being an operator, they can do that. I don't have that information to be able to verify that.
Yeah, and we talked about outside plant and other things, and I'll turn it back to Consolidated to address that. Some of that is going to be in the detailed engineering, but our board has confidence that they're going to meet all of those specifications based on what they've already delivered and what their technical specs are for the build. But I'll let the Consolidated, Eric or Brian or.
Yeah, I would just finish that out. Tell us, we're happy to provide more detail. And it's probably worth a discussion on what precisely you need. But I would underscore, this network is already up in the region. So, it is functioning today. So I think we can, be assured we can do it soon. And also, in the interest of time, I don't think it makes sense to go through each one now, but we're happy to do that.
Okay, I just want to recognize Brian has his hand up, and I think Dan maybe want to have a question too. And we only have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, Patty, so this has turned into more of a working session than like in other applications. I've actually spent time going through the CTC findings and their assessment of not only the application but the business plan, and it's always got good information in it, and I learned something from it that helps me ask questions. And it just doesn't feel like CTC has had an opportunity to do that here. And so I'm not voting today, period.
I don't think anybody's ready to vote.
Great. Okay. Then let's just move on. And can we take this offline and get all that work done in advance of the next meeting, and then we might be in a position to vote.
Exactly. You have a good sense of our questions. There's a little bit more to be fleshed out, some icing on the cake, and come back for round 2 and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Tell us, did you have any other questions that you wanted to raise now in the 2 minutes that we have?
No, I mean, in general, and we listed some of those questions. The application is primarily relying on Consolidated's experience, but there's not a whole lot of data behind that to support it, which I understand, Consolidated does have market experience, but just in general, like for instance, take rates, where we've analyzed take rates in other applications, there's no real data supporting that. There's no real information aside of one line about take rates. So, and that's just a minor thing. I'm just saying in general, it's relying as a whole, the application is relying on Consolidated's experience, but the data isn't in the application.
Right, but
Okay.
the completeness of that data, it has to be apples to apples to apples with the other CUD applications. So we've got to get that, even if it's, you know, assumed that CCI is going to have, you know, operating history and competence and all that. We have to flesh that out.
Totally
I
hear
think
that. Just want to add one quick point that, you
Okay,
know,
in 30 seconds or less, please,
30 seconds.
Eric, because we have to close up and move on to another item.
Okay, we felt a lot of those were for CUDs that had to prove that their own viability was there for take rates. So, you know, for as an example, it is a minor one, as Chelsea says, but I hear what you're saying. And
Yeah, if we're given money, you got to clear all the hurdles everyone else does. Sorry.
Exactly.
And I would offer to Eric Gar that you're going to have to help us paper over goodwill with some material evidence of enforceability. I know
Certainly.
it's hard.
No, happy to do that.
Okay, excellent. All right, I really appreciate everybody's feedback, questions. It's been a great discussion. We will close this item and move to the next agenda item. Christine, we have staff updates listed for 3. I'm very conscious of the fact that we've
Do
snipped
we need to go
off.
back,
Are we in executive session?
aren't we?
No.
No,
Oh.
no.
I think we're in public.
Never mind.
No worries.
Yeah, we would like this, you know, I provide an update every Thursday. We'd like to cede to VCUDA and give them an opportunity to.
Perfect. And if there's time after public comment, then we can do staff updates and a 4 o'clock hard stop or adjourn. Okay?
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. So let's move to VCUDA update.
Okay, thank you. So we have continued to meet at least monthly. We ordinarily try and schedule a meeting bi-weekly on Monday mornings. We pushed today's meeting to tomorrow out of respect for the VCBB having its meeting today. I'm very happy to report that we have completed the first full round on the fiber optic buy. We wired $935,048.04 out of the VCUDA account into the NRTC Pulse broadband account on last week. And that closed the loop on the first 6 invoices we received for many hundreds of miles of fiber. So that has all worked out, and the participating CUDs are really in a far better position to move ahead because we were able to put this deal together last autumn. And now that we've been through this one cycle, I believe that we'll be able to get the NRTC invoices paid within 30 days instead of the 90 days it took this time. First of all, because we didn't actually get the invoices when NRTC published them. And then secondly, because the CUDs each had to figure out how to pay a very large amount of money in a short period of time. And then I had to work with the banks on the deposit of large sums. You know, you can't necessarily just drive up to the bank teller and give them a check for $238,000 without getting the third degree. So there's quite a bit of time and effort that went into making all this stuff happen. I believe it'll be significantly more streamlined the next time around.
FX, what was the total price tag for your completed purchase of the fiber?
935,048.04.
935,000?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, that was all worked out last October, and it came to fruition. So all is well. Everybody's happy, especially the Vermont Community Foundation and the Vermont Employee Service Credit Union folks who provided a letter of credit. So we are functionally good to go on making big collective buys. So that's a very important function of the association. The other key thing about it is the opportunity for the CUDs to get together either once or twice a month and hear from Christine and Rob as to what's going on with you folks and in the state, an opportunity for the CUDs to compare notes with each other on lessons learned, areas where there are questions. It's all well and good that we have tons and tons of documents available on our shared drive, but there's nothing like the in-person, face-to-face conversation around the campfire, as it were, for people to highlight things that they have not figured out or learned or know where to go look for information. And also the there are always leadership changes within the CUDs, and it's an opportunity for new members of leadership to make contact with others in the community that's driving this forward. We've had we still are looking to replace the sainted Will Anderson, and I continue to have high hopes that a good candidate will emerge. And I'm hoping that one or more people from the CUD community will step up and want to help out with the VCUDA leadership and some of the cooking and bottle washing that I'm taking care of right now. The other note is that we have, we're fully funded throughout this year, and I believe that we've demonstrated the value of this organization, and I anticipate that as we go forward, we're going to be in good shape in terms of funding what we need to fund for the organization from our dues. So that's pretty much my report right now. I think I'll stop there and answer any questions anyone might have.
Okay, thank you very much, FX. Questions? Anybody have a question or comment? Okay, hearing none. Christine, let's move to public comment.
Okay. Anybody from the public like to speak? Please raise your hand. I am not seeing any hands come up. I would say going once, going twice. Okay, think we can
All
move
right,
on.
let's backfill Christine then with the staff updates. Hopefully we have time, we can get through.
Yeah, we attended, some of the staff members, we attended a meeting with the NTIA. They have a twice annual meeting with State Broadband Leaders Network. We've written we basically a 24-page narrative to a digital, to the BEAD application for a $5 million planning grant. They were pretty impressed. It's in pretty good shape. So I'm feeling good about the fact that we can meet the 15th date. I've got to incorporate some changes from staff, but overall they said they were quite impressed. So I think that was a good meeting. Really, the function of that was to make sure we're ready for BEAD. And one of the issues that the NTI had strong concerns about, again, same issues you're addressing here with the VCBB, is making sure that we can demonstrate that the states have the capability and the capacity to be able to handle these programs. And of course, our budget, the budget you approved, has the positions in it. So it's not, we've already kind of addressed that issue. And when we showed that to I actually had an opportunity to meet with the grant reviewers, and they felt it was pretty good. So there are no real surprises for the board here.
Holly, you have your hand up.
I do. Christine, I'm just speaking for myself here. I feel as a board member that you've got a plan that's moving forward into the federal funding system that we know very little about. And I know that this is a complicated area, it takes a lot of work. But even bullet pointed headlines of what you're applying for. I mean, my personal opinion is that one does not apply for grant funding until one's board has signed off on it. This is big dollars and takes a lot of obligation on the part of your team.
Except if we miss the deadline, we don't get anything. So you'll be passing up.
To me, that's on you.
Well, I don't have the time. I'm sorry. The NTI is in a very short timeline. So they've made it very clear to the states they're on a short timeline. So if you board want to approve this, no problem.
I'm not saying we have to approve it, but we don't even know what you're doing.
I can definitely inform you, but I'm not looking for your approval, because that would mean we would fail.
Well, let's pedal this back a little bit.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go back.
yes, please.
I'm
Yes,
just
please.
asking for information, you
Yes,
know.
I'd be happy to provide you information. It's not even, like I said before, I've got to make modifications based on the staff recommendations. I'll be glad to provide a entire copy of the application for you. It's due the 15th. And we didn't even start writing it till 2 weeks ago, because we just finished our digital equity application.
So,
In
Christine,
the middle mile, we're in the middle of.
We did not see or hear the scope of that either.
Well, if you want, I'll be glad to provide the information to you. Yes.
so
Provided in time to express any feedback, or just provided last second as if it's just
It's
a
going to be
checklist
provided
item?
last second unless you tell me
Okay.
otherwise.
I think you're hearing
I'm
tone.
sorry,
That should,
it's through the 15th.
Well, it's great that you went to NTIA and got
that's
their
not gonna be-
positive feedback, but
It's not going to be fully written till Thursday, so I'll be provided you for Thursday. Give me feedback. When is the 15th? I'll provide
less
you.
it's less about the final writing than about kind of the
Concept.
macro
The
concepts that you're going to be
Exactly.
expressing that we want to make sure are consistent
I-
with
I
what,
can
and I
provide
think
you that on
I think
the-
you want us to be supportive of
Yes.
yeah,
Well, I do, but
it, whether you realize it right now in this
but
moment
we're
or not.
very limited staff, and we're very, these are extensive applications. But I will provide you a copy with the 10th, and you'll have till.
I
this
take a
tomorrow.
one-page bullet points of
Yes.
kind of the major things. Like, I don't want it to be invasive to the work effort, but if it's,
Right.
it may take that much effort to make it down to one page.
No, I'll be glad to provide you with the bullet points. I will provide you that on the 10th, because I haven't incorporated the changes that the staff has put in yet. I will be doing that tomorrow.
yeah, I don't think you're hearing that we want to micromanage the application. We just want a heads up, this is going on. So we have questions. If we have questions about the grant, we can chime in here. And the worst thing to do is leave your board in the dark.
Oh, I recognize that. Unfortunately, we're really understaffed.
Totally understand that, Christine, but at the same time, in your weekly updates, just throw a couple of sentences at it and you've covered it.
Okay.
If we have questions, we'll ask.
Yep.
Laura, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just to underscore, not looking for the whole application, but like the scope of work, like, oh, just send us the scope of work. I really feel that that's important for the board to see before it goes in.
Okay, we'll provide you that on the 10th.
On any major grant, to be clear. So.
Yeah, the middle mile is coming up next. That we have more time on that one. I'd be glad to. We can have CTC do a presentation on that one. That's due on September 15th.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's always been my belief that your board should have your back, and in order for your board to have your back, they have to have the information. So.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. You got it. You guys are doing great work. All of you are doing great work, and we want to be a supporter and not, if we have no clue what's going on, you're going to get the questions. And as Laura said, we want to have your back.
And while it
So-
seemed like
I just don't want to break my staff. They provided me inputs end of last week. I've got to incorporate those in. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
But it's not optional. I mean, we have to know. So we should talk about how to do this in a way that is least intrusive and most convenient for you all, but not like if we do it, in my opinion.
I think you're hearing consensus on that, Laura. We're all
I got the message.
nodding yes.
And I do want to say that I didn't bring it up during Doug Farnham's presentation because I recognize that you're working hard and there's a lot to do.
Yep.
We get that. Okay.
Okay, I got the message.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
provide
you.
you. Yep.
All right. Anything else for staff updates, Christine?
I'll leave this open. Rob, Stan, do you have additional input?
Nothing from me.
Stan,
muted, Rob.
Stan, I have this question for you. Were you able
Yeah.
to review? I saw that the consolidated contract was signed on August 5th, very recently. Were you able to review it and identify some of those issues that we were talking about in terms of our working section with them about enforceability and so on?
I did not see it till after it was signed, but I did go through it, and it did address a lot of the concerns that we had. So that's good.
You thought so? Okay. I hear you.
So Christine, for parking lot, I've got 2 items just to check this to make sure my notes are right. So the bead training that Doug Farnham referenced, that's on your parking lot list.
Yep. And you heard Doug talk about that.
Right. I just want to make sure our parking lot list is fleshed out, and then also accountability for grant funds and the use relative to ValleyNet and EC Fiber.
Yeah, I think we discussed that here, and we've taken some action items on that.
Yeah,
Those are things to come back to us with.
Patty, point of order though, didn't we ask about not just EC Fiber, but for CUD grant?
Yes.
For all, exactly, for all CUDs, but I'm just linking it to that discussion to jog memory because I'm using very cryptic words right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to be very succinct. Anything else for the parking lot?
Nope, other than I'll get some bullet points out to you on the 10th about the equity
Yes.
application.
No, this is Rob.
Um,
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted on my headset, not on the thing right here, and gave a whole update. So I'll make it. I'll make it quick. I'll make it quick. Working to address the staffing issues. We're exploring even pursuing temporary employees while we're waiting for our full-time positions to be approved. We have made an offer to a broadband project developer. We're expecting an answer at the end of this week, most likely. We're very excited about the candidate. We'll see where it all goes. We are also working on the contract for what we're calling the creative finance. These are the two people, one company and one person that will be working closely with the CUDs to find that other 40% that we're not expecting to be able to fund from our grant funding. So we're making progress on a lot of fronts, but it's a challenge. Like you all know, we're short-staffed, so we're doing what we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob, and thank you all for all you're doing. Okay, anything else for staff updates?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, and with that, our next meeting date, can we just confirm that date?
The 22nd.
Okay, so we are moving to the second Monday and the fourth Monday of every month.
We're moving to we're staying with an every other week schedule.
Okay, I just want to make sure I get this. Right now I have every Monday as VCBB.
We were trying to jump around to have as many board members here as possible to make big decisions. If folks want to confirm on the 22nd that they are available or they're okay moving forward regardless, that might be helpful.
Okay. I'm 22nd, I'm here.
I'm available.
All right, you've got a consensus.
Yep, that works.
Just looking ahead, the next two is going to be a holiday for the next cycle.
So the 15th is not a meeting. All right.
15th is not a meeting.
Not
right.
a meeting unless you want one.
No, but there was something.
No,
There was something out
I
there.
don't
So
want one, Rob. We have way too much to do.
So as Brian said, or somebody said, the 5th is a holiday of September.
But that's not a second Monday.
It's
So
a
we're
2-week
going-
cycle.
They said is every other Monday.
Oh,
the 5th is Labor Day.
can we just move to the 2nd and the 4th? It's Mondays.
I could do that.
So the 15th and the 29th of September are the meetings following the 22nd.
What?
It's
Oh,
funny.
I'm
my
sorry,
calendar
I'm looking at the
offers
wrong month here.
12th,
The
20th.
12th and the 26th of September.
I can do both of those.
I can't do the 12th.
I won't be available the 12th either.
So maybe we should hold the 12th as an emergency working meeting if necessary. Like we've done in the past, but no financial decisions. If we have 3 people.
Agreed. And because it looks like at the next meeting, we're going to have the follow-up for the Southern Vermont, and we would likely have a proposal from Waitsfield for both the non-CUD towns in their territory and the Maple towns in their territory.
But that's August 22nd, Rob?
That's August 22nd. I wouldn't be shocked if it takes more than one meeting.
So the question is, if we do the 12th, that's a working group meeting with two board members not in
3.
attendance.
Yeah.
Oh, 3.
3 board members would be there, 2 would not be in attendance.
Sorry, I meant
Tied
2
together
not
that
in
way.
attendance. So 3 would be in.
If everybody
also
is
don't-
available tomorrow on the 22nd to hear the applications and start the deliberations, we can make a decision then about what we want the 12th to be.
Are you going to attempt to get through southern Vermont on that day also? That's not going to be a cakewalk.
That's why I was suggesting this may end up being over 2 meetings between those all those applications.
And just to note, all of this application material, by the way, the application material for southern Vermont states the wrong rate in the application. So just a note to self. And the question I have with regard to all of these applications on Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom is who's the applicant, Waitsfield or the CUD?
Or the town.
Or the town in that case. Yeah, it's a little awkward.
Well, a town can't be an applicant under Act 71. So for one of the applications, it's going to be Waitsfield with the support of Maple. The other one, it's going to be Waitsfield as a small telecom.
Well, Waitsfield, not with the support of Maple. It's Maple with the support of Waitsfield.
Yes.
If we're going to be
And
consistent.
you know, sending us this stuff this early when the application isn't done is not helping me. I'm just letting you know that. I know that you're trying to push this stuff through, but
Yeah, I think we need to slow things down a bit too. So.
yeah, I appreciate that, Christine.
All right, so what do we have here? We have the 22nd is a date, and we don't have a follow-up date at this point. We have the 12th, but only 3 of us will be there.
So I could do the 19th. I mean, if we'd can we do like the 19th and Dan can't.
I can't.
19th I can't
Oh.
do.
I'm out 18th and 19th.
So
22, 29, or is that not enough time? Is that just spinning wheels?
I'm sorry, say those dates again.
22 and 29, August 22nd, and then August 29th.
Do we have that
I
much
do.
backed up?
Well, so the 5th is a holiday, the 12th, there's only 3 of us. The 19th we can't do, so we're looking at the 22nd and then the 26th.
I'm not
And
clear
it sounds
we
like-
have that much work though, to Brian's point. Like, we're gonna hear Southern Vermont next week.
That's it.
And Waitsfield.
No, they're not ready.
Waitsfield won't be ready, Rob.
So then we're pushing Waitsfield out until the 26th is what I'm saying,
26th of August?
September.
Of September, I'm sorry.
Right, we could do a working meeting with them on the 12th.
We could try another day of the week too, to try to keep close to that schedule, because at that point, we very well may have an application from EC Fiber as well.
All right, I'm gonna need some help here to organize this. I'm not great at scheduling these things.
Well, and you
Sure.
don't have you don't know what I mean, like, maybe the staff should come back with a proposal for meeting dates. Because, I mean, you can't really
Yeah,
see
we
the
could do a
workflow
we
like
could-
they can, Patty, at this point, right?
We could do a doodle poll, but yeah.
But you know what the applicant stack is going to be, you know, how they're progressing. And then help us with that. Let the work drive the extra meetings, because I don't know what that is, as Laura just said.
Yep, we'll work on that.
Okay, so for the next meeting, we are on for August 22nd. And
Yes.
we'll look at dates after that, or at that meeting.
Yeah, we'll give you a timeline as well.
Okay,
I realize this discussion, I appreciate the discussion. I think it's revealed that we've probably taken on too much.
okay. Do I have, I'm going to move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
opposed?
everybody, for
Thank
your
you very
really great
much.
work.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Great meeting.